Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Weldon. I am a Rapido product manager, part of the resource sharing team at Ex Libris, part of Claravit. And today we are delivering the Rapido monthly update for December 2024. Today's agenda is first topics of the Rapido community, and then a very robust section on the Rapido monthly release highlights, being highlights from the upcoming January 2025 release. And then, as there is a lot of content to cover today, the last section of our time together will be addressing any questions that you bring forward today. So first off, topics of our Rapido community, topics that I think may be relevant to many of you here today. In December, we had many libraries go live with Rapido, representing at least 4 different countries going live. It looks like we are wrapping up the year with 152 live libraries. I believe we began 2024 with 113 live libraries, and we've had libraries join the Rapido community from Australia, New Zealand, Spain, Hong Kong, UK, Canada, the US, South Africa. I believe I've recalled all of the countries, but a lot of growth around the world in the Rapido community this year, and we're excited to see the growth into 2025 as well. Okay, thinking about the Rapido community, there's an upcoming webinar called How Regent University Met a 300% Increase in Resource Sharing Requests. I will be supporting Kai in his presentation, Kai Talavera from Regent University, on Wednesday, January 15th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and I will provide the webinar registration to you at the end of this session so that you can join us in hearing Kai's story, and feel welcome to share that as well so that we can all hear the story about Regent University and how they're using Rapido today. Next topic from our Rapido community is thank you to our ebook testing partners, colleagues from Brandeis University, Empire State University, Lingnan University, Hong Kong University, CSU Sacramento, CSU Fullerton, and Regent University have been participating in ebook testing with us over the last couple of months here. And in collaboration with our community, we have our first ebook pod available with the January release. That's just to acknowledge we can have additional pods created as needed for the community. Just contact us and we can create pods that will support your connections, whether that's for physical resource sharing or for the new ebook functionality. But the first pod that's going to be available with the January release will be an ebook DRM-free international pod. So libraries around the community using Rapido can join the pod. The pod terms are going to be a 2-day delivery, a 30-day loan period, 3-day expiry, no renewals, no cost, and this is for ebook resource sharing. At the end of the session, when I share links today, there'll be a link for you to ask to be added to that pod, and then you'll receive confirmation message once your library has been added to the pod. Now that really gets us into our developments area for our highlights of our January release, and that being the major highlight being the ebook functionality. So first off, I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of what the end-to-end for ebook is going to look like for ebook resource sharing, and then we will go into the different configuration things to consider as you utilize the ebook functionality for your library using Rapido. Okay, so familiar screen here, a discovery experience from your end user looking for something that they might need for their studies or otherwise. They've searched your library discovery. This time when they click into the result, they're seeing an ebook offer because your library has joined an ebook pod and the item is available by the ebook pod. In this case, they're seeing the terms of 2 days, 112. Of course, that will be whatever terms are relevant to the pod that you've joined. Once they've selected that Get It option, they're going to see a form that opens up. This form can be customized, and we'll speak to that a little bit later, but one thing to note on the ebook form is you'll see an alternate pickup location here, customized to read pickup location if request cannot be supplied digitally. This is in case the request is submitted via an ebook, but rolls into being a physical request. Perhaps it can't be filled by any of your partners in the ebook pod. They've rejected the request, it's expired out, etc., and it's moved on to other partners. This allows your user to say where they need to pick up that item, should they need to pick up the item physically. Once they've submitted that request, you'll see that in your borrowing request view. What might be different here is you see that under the requested field, the book is digital, requested format is digital, and the new value that is most new to you will be the ebook indicator value of yes. This value of yes lets you know that it is for an ebook request. Because this value is available, you can use it for creating sets and helping you navigate your workflows. So here's an example of that on the lending side, the lending perspective. This library has created a set called ebook lending. They've included the statuses that are relevant to them for finding those requests they haven't yet processed, meaning the being processed and created lending request status. And they've got an ebook indicator yes value so that they know these requests are specifically for ebooks, and it helps them organize their workflow. Then when they find that ebook request, they will see very similar to the borrowing view, requested, book digital, requested format is digital with the ebook indicator yes. From the lending workflow, you can do the download and deliver action that might be familiar to you for that you're already using today for filling articles from your digital collections. Or you can do the ship digitally action. You can provide a URL or a PDF depending on how the item is available. Once the item is shipped digitally, you'll see those confirmation messages that happen with the shipping action, and you'll see the status update to ship digitally. So here's our same request at the ship digitally status. The borrowing perspective, they'll also see that update of ship digitally, and our borrowing staff have that file available visibility there too. Our end users have received the item, and in their library card, they see it at the status of sent, and they'll either have the download option or the view option depending on what was supplied. So they have that visibility in their library card. They've also probably received a notification, the document delivery notification letter. If you have that letter enabled in your environment, they would have received that letter to notify them of their requested material being available. Then the request is completed when there is a job enabled. I'll speak more to this job as we review the configurations, but the job being enabled looks for any requests whose due date has passed, and then it triggers the message to the lender and closes the request on both the borrower and lender sides once that pod terms in our example of our our ebook DRM free international pod, the 30 days has come to pass. So that is just an overview of end-to-end, what you might expect the ebook functionality to look like, hopefully very similar to what you're familiar with in Rapido today, with a few minor differences. Now thinking about configurations, first I'm going to acknowledge a few configurations from the lending side of the house, and then we will go into borrowing configurations and then configurations most relevant to your end users. Okay, so in lending configurations, I have defined the first two, define portfolio and attach participating items as really required, more so essential to the functionality to work for you as a lender. And then additionally, there are personalize your staff workflow options available, and we'll walk through all three of these kind of configuration steps for your consideration. Okay, so to define your participating items for the ebook pod. You're first going to create an electronic portfolio set. You're going to change your search scope to the electronic portfolios, and if you're joining that DRM-free international pod, you'll create an electronic portfolio set that includes all of your DRM-free materials that you would like to be including as a lender to this pod. When you say this electronic portfolio set, the private setting should be no, and the status should be active. You can have various electronic portfolio sets, so you can manage and view these created electronic portfolios. So you may have different electronic portfolios for the various ebook pods that you eventually join. Then going into familiar Rapido configuration area, we're going to configuration members edit. You'll see in this screen you have a new tab called the digital item lending policies tab. You previously had the physical item lending policies tab and the borrowing policies tab, and the new one is the digital item lending policies tab. From this tab, you will select to add participating ebooks, which will open a drop-down menu for you to select the electronic portfolio set that you previously defined. And then you can select that electronic portfolio set, and it will populate in that participating ebook section. So now it's a defined participating item set. Then you need to attach that participating items set to the ebook pod that you have joined. So you see under the section digital item lending policies, our pod that we've joined here in this example is the USA ebook pod, and we have selected the action menu to add the long terms ebook participating items as lendable items to this ebook pod. So now that we've joined our ebook pod and defined our participating items, we can also consider lending workflows that might help our staff navigate filling these requests. As previously acknowledged, you can create a set to help you find these requests. Of course, they can be already included in other sets that you have available. They'll already be there. But if you want to be creating sets based on explicitly on ebooks, you can do so based on the ebook indicator value. Likewise, if you have staff that are not handling the ebook workflows, they can update their sets to exclude the ebook indicator value. Okay, thinking about borrowing configurations is our next step in joining our ebook pod here and getting ebook resource sharing set up in our Rapido environment. So those steps are ordering our pods based on our priority of use. It's very necessary. The next step that's really required is enabling the ebook job. And then just like in lending, we have options for personalizing our staff workflow, and I will address those options as well. So similar to or familiar to you already, under configuration resource sharing members and then selecting edit, you'll find this screen under the borrowing policies tab where you see the various pods that you're participating in, and you can order those pods based on your priority of use. You will be ordering your ebook pods or pods that you join within this list based on your priority of use. So if you want your users to have ebook offers as first choice, then you'll list the ebook pod first or order according based on your pod priority of use. Okay, the other aspect of the borrowing configurations that really are necessary is enabling this new job. So if you go into configuration, resource sharing Rapido jobs configuration, you'll see a new job listed there. That job is called the complete ebook requests. Please make that job active for your ebook functionality. This job is really important to completing those ebook requests. So the job runs and it initiates the return action on all requests that have a due date prior to the current date. Once the action is completed, the borrowing request is updated from ship digitally to request completed, and likewise the message is sent to the lending library for the system to automatically update that request to completed as well. Thinking about borrowing workflows and your personalizations available to you here, there are a few new parameters available to you in the mediation rules. One of those being ebook request. If you want to mediate on this parameter, you can. You can update existing rules to consider this parameter, or mediate all ebook requests, or make whatever decisions align with your preferences at your library. Another mediation rule option for you related to ebook functionality is the new parameter requested format change. This mediation rule is an example of a library that is mediating if the requested format changes from ebook to physical. Perhaps their staff have decided they're going to contact their users before going forward with acquiring these items in a physical format. So in this case, for that use case, for this library's decision, they have the requested format changed to equals physical, with the output parameter label being query about print. They have an escape label in their rule, meaning labels not in list change to print approved. So if they want this request to be released from the mediation, they will add that change to print approved label. So this is just an example of how you can use this parameter. Of course, you can use it in your own ways and flavors at your library. Okay, one note about borrowing workflows is the copyright rule parameter total copyright work percentage. You may have copyright rules in place based on this parameter, and it's worth noting that ebook requests are not going to be triggering this rule, so you don't have to worry about all of your requests being flagged for copyright or however your rule is written for ebooks if you're using the total copyright work percentage rule, because the requesting of an ebook, of course, is in this example of this rule, they're labeling anything greater than 12%. If the request is greater than 12%, the whole of an ebook is greater than 12% of the work, and ebook requests coming in for this library will not be blocked for digitization workflow. Then there are a few configurations to think about as far as your end user experience in ebook resource sharing in your Rapido environments. The first of those being display logic rules, the second of those being labels and the request form that your end users experience, and the third being the letters that you're using to communicate with your end users about their ebook requests. Within display logic rules with a January release, you'll see a new parameter, the Rapido ebook offer. You'll find this in your display logic rules under configuration menu, fulfillment, discovery interface, display logic under display logic rules. You can use this parameter as you see fit for tailoring your display logic rules for your end users. In this example, we are hiding the Rapido ebook offer for our alumni user group. Additional configurations or customizations that you can consider in your ebook experience for your end users is customizing the labels and the tiles. In these Rapido tiles, many libraries do not make customizations, others do. And it's just if you're a library that does like to customize these labels, note that they are different labels for your ebook tile than for your chapter offer versus your physical. And so there in documentation, you'll also find this list of what the different labels are to look for if you are choosing to customize the text on your tile. For example, if you use different language or have different preferences for the term keep for in displaying the loan period for the end user, you can customize that language. Another place that you can customize your language and end user experience in the ebook resource sharing workflow is considering the note that you have on your request form. So under resource sharing configurations, request forms, the note to patron, you will see that there is a new note to patron value called the discovery electronic request message. This allows you to have a different note on the form that populates for your end users when they select an ebook offer. And I will show that on the next screen here. So this is our form that opens after we've selected our get it on our ebook offer. On this library's form, the note that they have in play is note the interlibrary loan code for the United States, et cetera, et cetera. That is the note field that you can customize via the note to patron area. An additional aspect of these ebook request forms to consider is the alternate pickup location field is added to the request form for your end user to designate where they would need to pick this item up if it should become a physical request. If you want to customize that, you can via your request form customizations. Okay, moving from kind of the discovery area of your end user's experience, thinking about the letters that are used to notify them about their requests. So if enabled, the document delivery notification letter is what is sent to your end user to notify them of the ebook item being available. Of note, edits have been made to the out-of-the-box letters, but if your library has already customized these letters, you're not going to receive these edits because we do not want to change your letters that are going out to your end users and interfere with your customizations. Thus, if you have already customized these letters, the fields that are now available to you are documented in the Rapido letters documentation for you to choose to add them should you want to have the various ebook terms populate in your letter. In this example, the borrowing terms keep for 21 days. Additionally, and likewise, the change in terms letter for ebooks. I think the change in terms letter from anecdotal conversations with libraries is maybe less popularly used than the document delivery notification letter, but there have been fields added to this letter out of the box to help your users understand if the request changed from the terms available in the pod. For example, this letter has already been used by libraries if their request falls from one pod to the next, but thinking about if that happens for ebook, whether it changes from a physical format to digital or digital to physical, that information might be relevant to your end users to receive in the change of terms letter. So new fields have been added to the letter in those out of the box letters. If you've already customized your letters, you can consider adding those fields from the letters documentation in our Rapido configuration documentation. One other aspect of ebooks is thinking about analytics. And you'll find today already that you have the parameter ebook indicator as a field available within your analytics. So you can either add that to existing reports or create new reports based on that value. So there's a lot of content already in the January release regarding ebook functionality, but we have a few items already on the roadmap to continue to develop further functionality for ebook resource sharing in Rapido, and I just wanted to highlight those for you today. So thinking about our connections with our partners, one of the areas that we will be developing is your DRM-free ebooks will not require a due date. So today, and with that initial pod being released, you'll see that the DRM-free items do have a due date. That is how it's going to be with the January release, but we understand because it is DRM free, it doesn't necessarily need to have a loan period, and so there'll be developments to support the pods not requiring a due date for DRM free materials in the future. Thinking about your end user experience. Today, with the ebook release, your end user will receive an ebook offer or physical offer depending on what your pod priority of use. So if the same title exists and your end user discovers an ebook offer first, that is because you have listed the ebook pod higher than the physical pod from which it's available from. We understand that the library community would like to allow this choice to be made by their end users, and so this is functionality on our roadmap to support that end user experience. Additionally, end users can only place ebook requests today via the ebook tiles, and perhaps you would like to support them placing those requests from the blank form in the future, so that is on our roadmap. Thinking about the staff user experience, we already have the ebook indicator value in analytics, but we'll be developing some out-of-the-box reports for you to use as well. The ebook ILL policy on the download and deliver view is also on the roadmap to support your staff workflows. And another action on the roadmap for staff is the ability to manually create requests for ebook on behalf of the end user. So these are some things that we already have on the roadmap as we continue to think about further functionality with the ebook. Okay, so that is the ebook functionality in total for today. I anticipate we'll have a lot of questions, but I want to also acknowledge another highlight from our January release and then get into questions from today. So, in introducing the next highlight from the January release, I wanted to first speak to the different flavors of local fulfillment because the January release is releasing a new flavor of local fulfillment functionality. So, I wanted to introduce the various flavors that I see in use in libraries today to support your decision making on how you use the functionalities at your library. So first, on the top row here, I think of one of the flavors being no local fulfillment for local users. For these libraries, the library expectation is to not receive requests for local items from their users. So they do not want to be receiving requests to be digitizing or downloading and deliver content from their collections for their users. Perhaps if they do receive these requests, maybe via blank forms, etc., the staff are rejecting or making other decisions about these requests. Another way that libraries are processing or handling requests from their local users from their local collections for either a download and deliver or a digitization is via the Alma digitization functionality. So in this case, libraries are using display logic rules to provide the Alma to digitization link and offer, and these requests are then handled via the fulfillment workflow. Another flavor of thinking about local fulfillment for your users is via a RapidILL local holding status. So in this kind of flavor or context, your library is relying on RapidILL's holdings check to understand if the requested material is material that you have defined as lendable for your RapidILL lending. If that's the case, RapidILL is doing a check and updating the status um, to like a local holding status. And then staff are processing those requests from the borrowing, whether they're rejecting them, filling them, etc. Then the next three options are more mediation rule related. So I'm going to dive into each of those in a little bit more detail. So thinking about the borrowing workflows or requests related to borrowing mediation rules, the here's an example of a mediation rule and kind of the context in its use. So if you're a library handling your requests for local fulfillment in your borrowing workflow, perhaps you have display logic rules that are allowing Rapido offers on items that you hold locally, either for downloading and delivering or for digitizing them from your collections. Your mediation rule may be using a parameter of self-owned or self-owned and available. Then the workflow is on the borrowing side of your sets and borrowing side of your staff experience. Perhaps your staff are performing the upload file action, or they're selecting the action of create lending request, and then that moves it to lending. The mediation rule might look something like a parameter, input parameter of self-owned or self-owned and available being true. Because ebook requests are not a part of this local fulfillment, we've added the equals no to this rule. And our label, our escape label, meaning overriding these requests for mediation for our not in list, we have the escape label. And our output parameter label here is the borrowing document delivery. So your rule might look something like this or a bit different, but if you're working on these requests from the borrowing side of the house, you have a mediation rule probably similar to this. Alternatively, via mediation rules, you might be using the mediation rule with the fill locally action. mediation rule with the fill locally action moves the request into the lending workflow. In this context, your display logic rules are also allowing Rapido offers on these items. Your mediation rule input parameters might be self-owned or self-owned and available, with the mediation rule action being fill locally. Your outcome is that the borrowing request of these are at the status of sent to partner. Though you can access these requests in your borrowing workflow, from my experience working with libraries, staff are typically not acting on the request in the borrowing workflow for these. They're at the status of sent to partner, unless they're at a Mary status on their way through the life cycle. The lending request is created with your library as the borrower. So staff perform from the lending set, so from your lending workflow, familiar lending actions of the download and deliver, or printing the pool slip to scan and send, or rejecting if needed. If you're working on these requests might be in your regular lending sets, or maybe you have sets customized that have these requests separated based on the borrowing partner. If this is your workflow, your mediation rule at your library probably looks something like this, where you're using either the self-owned or self-owned and available input parameter. Again, we are saying that it's not an ebook request, and we have the output label being self-owned and our escape label being self-owned approved, with the action, the important difference here between the last mediation rule is the action being fill locally, which is going to assign our library as the lender. I think this is a popular and common workflow scenario that I'm seeing libraries using Rapido today, but of course the other flavors I've acknowledged are also in use. The new kind of flavor available to you for your fill locally is in tandem with a new mediation rule parameter, as well as defining the lendable items. So for this flavor, libraries are using display logic rules to allow Rapido offers on those items that are available to either download and deliver by their staff or to digitize by their staff. They're using the new mediation input parameter of self-owned and available and requestable with the mediation rule action of fill locally. The library has defined the lendable items via creating a portfolio and attaching it to digital policies. For this mediation rule and or flavor of filling locally to align with your library, perhaps this meets your needs if you have branches or locations that shouldn't be included in the fill locally workflow, yet you still want to be using the fill locally functionality for defined items. Perhaps you want the fill locally to be working, but you have branches that you can't be filling from, or special collections that you can't be filling from. This allows you to have the fill locally apply on the material that you've defined as requestable, and the requests that are from that align with holdings that are not lendable to be going sent out as regular borrowing requests to other partners. So what this rule might look like is an example here. We've named it self-owned, available, and requestable, and use the self-owned and available and requestable new input parameter. We have an escape label here, and I'm sorry I forgot to put an output label parameter here, but I would suggest doing that. And you have the action of fill locally. So you've got your mediation rule for self-owned and available and requestable. And what it's running on is the items that you've defined as requestable. And you do that here through the configurations on our next screen. So you've created that mediation rule with that parameter. You've defined a portfolio, likewise what we did for defining a portfolio for your ebooks, but in this case it's for not for ebooks, but for items that you want to be able to perform that fill locally action upon. Then in that same new digital lending policies tab, under the Add Participating Workflow Sets, you will select the workflow option of Fill Locally from the drop-down menu. And under the Add Sets, you'll be selecting the portfolio that you created to define items that are requestable for this workflow. So that is a new flavor available in the Fill Locally workflows. There are quite a few flavors that are available, so if you want to have discussions about what best suits your library, happy to follow up with you at a later date on those topics. Okay, one other functionality that is a main aspect of the January release has been requested by the community, and that is the expired requests become actionable. So today, libraries have shared that expired requests don't behave as they would like. They don't have all of the available actions to them. That can continue if that is your preference. However, there's a new parameter available to you under Configuration, Fulfillment, General, Other Settings. The new parameter is the RS Keep Expired Request Active. Please set that to true if you want to change and make expired requests actionable. The default is false there. So with once set to true, expired requests are now editable, requests actions are available, and partners could be added manually to the requests. Setting this parameter to true may align with your library's preferences if you're a library that wants to perform actions on requests that expire out of your automated partners. Okay, so I am giving you my email address here on this slide for additional follow-up conversations from content that we covered today. I'm going to grab links that I acknowledge in today's conversation, put them in the chat, and then look to any questions that you might have today. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Grabbing the links that may be relevant to you from topics discussed in today's session. Okay, in the chat now you'll find an assortment of links. Those links are the pods form. So if you want your library added to the ebook pod or any other pod, you'll find that form. It's also attached on the Rapido pods page. The 2025 monthly webinars have been scheduled at least through June, so this is the last webinar for 2024 monthly updates, but the webinars will continue, so please register for additional upcoming webinars for the monthly releases. Additionally, if you're not yet engaging with the Rapido listserv or on the Rapido listserv, it's a great place to connect with your community. Then there are the release notes covering today's topics and a bit more as well. And then upcoming webinar with Kai Talavera from Regent University. You can register for that or share that with colleagues who want to hear about another library's Rapido experience. Okay, and let me now navigate to the chat and Q&A to see if there's topics that we can address today. Okay, what is DRM? I think it's libraries love their abbreviations. I think it's digital rights management or something along those lines. Essentially, DRM free are materials that you will be able to lend fully and not necessarily have as many limitations on. So though there'll be additional pods to support other terms, perhaps if you have items that you can only lend for 2 weeks or within a certain region, we can create pods to support those sharings as well. But to start out with, our community suggested a broad pod that would be available for many libraries who want to participate in ebook resource sharing to be able to join. Okay. Not finding other topics in our Q&A or in the chat today. So if I've missed your topic or if you have additional questions beyond our time together today, please feel free to reach out and happy to follow up with you. Thank you.